Wagwan, my fellow Kobe here with another Warframe video. Today we'll be going over Loki, primarily because I feel like I did him somewhat wrong in my tier list video. I put Loki in D tier, mainly because his kit's like really outdated and really boring. However, I think I did him unfairly, again with some of the other stealth frames as well, putting their survivability a little bit lower than it really should be. So with everything that I've done with this build in particular, this isn't really like a normal build, but with everything considered, I'd probably move Loki up to like lower B tier, high C tier, taking him out of D, right? For this build today, it's not like a normal build, it's just something that I put together just to show off some things. I wanted to do a melee build with him using Kullervo's Rifle Advance, however I haven't gotten Kullervo for the helmet. I know, just a little bit lazy. And my game has been crashing like crazy in the very lately, so I've just put it off, right? And for this build, we're using Zata's Whisper. For this build in particular, I wouldn't recommend using Zata's Whisper. I'd say just go for Nourish or Breach Surge or something along the lines of that. Or if you have Rifle Advance, go for Rifle Advance, and then once you see the build, you'll be able to then determine exactly what I mean when I say don't necessarily go for Zata's Whisper, because for this build, it is a low strength build, giving less of a multiplier when it comes down to Zata's damage output, only giving like a 10% increase, right? So overall, the build is Corrosive Projection. I have his augment mods. I have for Safeguard Switch. I have Hushed Invisibility. And I have Irradiating Disarm. However, from what I noticed, I'm not sure if it's like bugged or what, but Irradiating Disarm hasn't been proccing like radiation on a bunch of enemies. Like, it's so inconsistent. It's supposed to be guaranteed radiation procs, but I haven't been getting guaranteed radiation procs. I've just been casting Radial Disarm, and nothing's come of it, right? So for this build, the idea is to essentially have my weapons silence, be invisible all the time. You see me here using Arcane Crepuscular, or Crepuscular, I don't know how to say that, and Molt Efficiency, essentially just to stay invisible for longer, and getting that crit chance and the crit damage, I should say, the crit damage and the strength from Crepuscular, or Crepuscular. You guys let me know how to say it. But yeah, so essentially this build is pretty much just to be staying invisible, which you'd want to do as Loki, because one of the main reasons why I put him survivability lower than where it should be. I'd probably put his survivability in like A, but I think I put it in B. Reason being is because once you leave invisibility, just like for most of the other stealth frames, once you leave invisibility, even for just a split second, you're in a lot of trouble, right? And for today's run, we'll be using the Burst in Prime and the Dual Toxis alongside the Magistar Incarnon. So it's pretty much just a full Incarnon set, because realistically this is what Loki would thrive at. Being somewhat of a weapons platform, he doesn't necessarily do anything particular to enhance the weapons themselves or give them any forms of like buffs, but he's able to stay invisible, letting your weapons shine. And yeah, so that's the main like gist of this build, or the gist of this loadout, to just make sure that my weapons are shining and Loki's invisible, so you stay alive. Right here you see me looking at the build for the burst-in. You could either go with this viral 100 munitions build, or you could go ahead and use this blast build. I ended up using the viral 100 munitions build because the burst-in gives you heat innately once you go Incarnon mode. In hindsight, I should have went with the blast, because I am going up against the Murmur and their resistance against viral, but it still works out in the end of the day. And now here I am using the Dual Toxis. This is a corrosive build, right? And as you guys can see, it's pretty much the stock standard Dual Toxis build, similar for the Burst-in. It's pretty much just the normal builds pretty much anyone would run, I'm assuming, right? So these are just the builds that I run, so I'm assuming that these aren't necessarily special when it comes onto these particular weapons, because this would be one of the two routes you'd want to go with these weapons, right? And using primary deadhead, or secondary deadhead, and primary deadhead as well. And for the Magistar, we're going full on into a slam build, just to essentially, if I get like overwhelmed by a group of enemies, I could just slam, get out of there immediately. And also to just deal with acolytes, because though the Dual Toxis and the Burst-in can deal with acolytes very well, My Magistar typically just 1 shots or 2 shots at Acolyte, so in most cases I'll just go ahead and pick these. For my companion, I'm just using Worm because this is arguably my favorite companion or my most used companion outside of like Nautilus. So yeah, so I'm just using him here for Duplex Bond and Negate. Duplex Bond is really great because once you use up a certain amount of energy, you then, your companion then breaks off into clones, causing it to essentially put out a lot more damage and CC a lot more, especially in the case where you're invisible and your companions are able to just roam around, dealing a bunch of damage. You could just pretty much stay in one corner, keep spamming abilities, keep using up energy, and keep pushing out those clones. And right here, looking at the Verglass build, it's just the normal Verglass build that I always run, right? And now getting into the Steel Path run. And as you guys can see, when it comes on to Loki's gameplay or gameplay loop, all you really want to do is just stay invisible and then let your weapons do all the work for you, right? So you see me here casting the Radial Disarm, and if you can notice, or if you're looking and seeing, there isn't any radiation procs, right? So I'm not sure if that's like a bug or if I just misunderstood what the augment mod does, right? You guys let me know if it's like bugged out or what. So yeah, so I'll go ahead and cast my one, which is this time Zata's Whisper, to ensure that I'm getting these void bubbles up, also getting that extra 10% damage. You see, going invisible. When it comes on to Safeguard Switch. Safeguard Switch is awesome because you don't need to necessarily run like Rolling Guard. You pretty much have a panic button at all times. Just go ahead and look at an enemy, cast your 3, and you switch places with them, giving you, I believe, 6 seconds, 3 to 6 seconds worth of invincibility. So you're pretty much invulnerable for that entire time. Can't take status procs, anything of the sort, you're just safe, right? And typically what I do is once my invisibility is going to be running low, or it's about time to recast that, I'll just go ahead and cast Safeguard Swap, or I'll just go ahead and do Switch Teleport. Switch Teleport. And then I'll be invulnerable, then I could just go ahead and recast my invisibility and be okay, right? And 9 times out of 10, if my shield breaks, if I like get hit by a AoE attack or something of the sort, or an Eximus attack, I'll just go ahead and cast Safeguard Switch or cast my 3, so I'm okay and, you know, invulnerable. But yeah, when it comes on to Loki, one of the main reasons why I say like this kit is like inherently like outdated. His passive is extra wall latching time. His first ability, it got a new augment that makes it usable, but it's still meh, if I'm being honest. Like, what I wish, I'm not like a game developer or anything of that sort, but what I think would be like a great thing for Loki is to essentially give him a, when it comes on to his abilities, give them a slight rework. I'm not talking like an overhaul, right? So for like his first ability with Decoy, I say remove Radial Disarm from his 4th and put that as a passive of his first, right? So when it comes on to his first ability, once the thing takes enough damage, it automatically just pulses out a disarming pulse, disarming all the enemies, and the augment mod could also just work for that as well. It comes on to the radiation procs and stuff like that, right? And when it comes on to his 2 and his 3, those are perfect. The Switch Teleport is okay, especially with Safeguard Swap. And when it comes on to invisibility, it's invisibility. Nothing needs to be changed about that. When it comes on to his 4th ability though, what I think would be cool is doing something akin to like Blade Storm, but not necessarily the same thing. Still keeping it crowd control focused. I'd suggest doing like, whenever you cast your 4th ability, it's similar to like a channeled ability, or it just does like Blade Storm essentially, where Loki essentially causes a lot of pandemonium by spawning a bunch of decoys, and these decoys essentially attach themselves to enemies, causing the other enemies to shoot at them, right? So it's pretty much like a mass like radiation proc. However, enemies that are hit with the damage from their comrades essentially take more damage, just like radiation. Also, whenever an enemy dies, they spawn off 2 more of those little clones or decoys, causing them to attach to more enemies at no extra cost of energy. The initial energy cast or the initial cast would be where it uses up the most energy depending on the amount of enemies affected, with probably like a 20 enemy cap, something along the lines of that. Hey, I'm just freeballing here. I'm just pretty much just freestyling off the top of my head, but I think that would be a better usage of a fourth ability than Radial Disarm, right? It's still crowd control focus. It's able to actually put out some damage and do a lot more than Radial Disarm actually does right now. And I still think Radial Disarm should just be attached to his first ability, right? It only makes sense. And when it comes on to his passive, I don't know what his passive should be. I don't know. Maybe like, I don't know, crit chance when you're invisible. Well, no, he's invisible 90% of the time. When it comes on to his passive, you guys let me know, right? If you guys think what I suggested for the abilities makes sense, let me know in the comments. It's up for discussion. I want to know what you guys think would be a great addition, right? I know some of you guys really love Loki and really are okay with how he is right now, but I still think there is a little bit of wiggle room to like change a few things to still keep him a crowd control focus frame, causing pandemonium and all that stuff, while still making him fun to play and actually having an interesting kit, because he's not that interesting, right? He's not that interesting. He's not necessarily even the best stealth frame, because for one, Ivara can walk through lasers, Wukong can go through lasers, Octavia deals scaling damage, Varuna scaling, well, not scaling damage, Varuna is able to nuke exponentially. Ashe is amazing, right? Loki just feels like the last pick when it comes on to stealth frames. So, yeah. And yeah, as you guys can see, the Burstin, the Magistar, and the Dual Toxicist are pretty much dealing with these enemies with no problem at all. I think I may do another build video when it comes on to using the Raffle Advanced build once the game gets into like a good place when it comes on to hotfixes and stuff, because the Deviri experience, not just the Deviri experience, I've been talking about this on the forums, reaching out to DE, hoping they'll, you know, respond to me one day. But when it comes on to like the state that the Switch is in right now, I know Megan already stated that, hey, the switches are crashing due to some reasons, but it's been crashing for a lot more reasons as well. The game's just very unstable on Switch. It's been crashing a lot, so that's why I haven't really have the full 2 builds prepped for this one video. So let me know if you guys want to see the Raffle Advance video. If you guys want to do it yourself, do it and let me know if it works out for you. Pretty much just go Raffle Advance, high strength, and yeah, that'll pretty much be it, right? So yeah, so realistically, this is right here what I'm talking about when it comes on to using the Magistar versus these Acolytes. So essentially what I'll just do is just Safeguard Swap to ensure that I'm invulnerable, and then bonk, and they're gone. Right.
As you conquer the foe, so you conquer yourself.
And with that being the end of the mission, the end of the video as well, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you guys enjoyed the rambling and all that stuff. Hope you guys share your thoughts and ideas when it comes on to what you would do to improve this, or if my ideas are, you know, good as well. But yeah, thank you guys so much for stopping by. My name is Kobe. Please like the videos and subscribe to the channel. I really do appreciate it. Peace.